a future forum. We went to Seattle, and we visited college campuses in the Tacoma and Seattle area. We went to a couple of the big businesses in your area with a millennial workforce, and we heard in Tacoma the same thing that we heard when we went to the Manchester, New Hampshire area, the same thing that we heard in the Dallas area, which is that millennials, they just think that the system's rigged and that there's no reason to participate. And the numbers show that. Roughly 22% of the eligible millennials showed up to vote in 2014. And so what are you hearing in the Seattle area about this issue?
No, I think that's pretty consistent with what we hear in our neck of the woods. Listen, you saw in the last election season, 2/3 of Americans cast a no-confidence vote by not voting at all. And those numbers are even worse when it comes to millennial voters. And I think, as Mr. Sarbanes said, it's not that they don't care. There's a lot of things that they care about, but it's, I think, out of a fair belief that there's too much money and too many deep pockets and too many special interests that are driving our democracy. This week, Politico came out with a report that the 100 biggest donors of the 2016 cycle have spent $195 million. And that's more than the combined total of 2 million small donors. And so I think it's fair to say that millennial voters see that dynamic and believe that their voice is getting drowned out in the process.
And if you look at this chart here, 158 families gave nearly 50% of the early 2016 donations. I mean, how does that make you feel? If you're a part of the largest generation America's ever known, 80 million people, the most diverse generation America's ever known, how does it make you feel when 158 families are contributing over 50%?
Yeah, and I think it drives the importance of some of the change that we're talking about here tonight. Certainly the Government by the People Act is a key part of that, trying to get the deep pockets and special interest influence away and actually empower the everyday American and millennial voters. There's other things I think we have to do as well. You see this problem exacerbated by the Citizens United decision, and many of us are co-sponsors of a constitutional amendment to undo that Supreme Court decision. You've seen efforts focused on trying to at least shine a bright light on where some of this dark money is coming from. There's a bill called the Disclose Act that at least tries to focus on that issue. And then the other thing that I've worked on is trying to put the teeth back into the watchdog of our campaign finance system. So after Watergate, you saw the Federal Elections Commission established that was really meant to be the watchdog, to make sure that people weren't violating campaign finance law, that they were playing by the rules. And unfortunately, as time has passed, the Federal Elections Commission has almost become as dysfunctional as the United States Congress. And the consequence of that is people are playing fast and loose with the rules. And you see the rise of super PACs and this whole question of coordination, particularly in the presidential campaigns, and it's a real problem. And so we've put forward a bill that's called the Restoring Integrity to America's Elections Act. And very simply, it tries to put teeth back into the Federal Elections Commission. So there's all sorts of things that we've got to do on this front to try to reduce the role of money in our politics and try to restore people power back. Because if you look at some of the extraordinary things that have happened in this country, whether it be the civil rights movement or advances made in environmental protection or any number of things, they've happened when everyday Americans, when citizens are able to take hold of their government and to actually make a difference in their government. And I think each of us is trying to do that, certainly from a policy standpoint. And next week I'm doing 7 town hall meetings in my district to try to make sure that everyday Americans have a voice in their democracy. But you look at charts like that, and I think it makes it very hard for people to feel any sense of impact and efficacy and feel like their voice is being heard. And I think it's an important conversation for us to be having, because we need to change that.